Sometimes you'll hear about the top 5 or the bottom 5 numbers that are in a group, or maybe just what was the highest number, what was the lowest number that we had in our group of numbers, and kind of start conversations from that. What we have here is a worksheet of weekly sales numbers for each of our 6 different reps. What we want to be able to do using the table that you see over here on the right hand side is to figure out what were Chip, Kathy, Susan, and so forth, what were their top 5 numbers that they had. So when you look at all that they did over the many weeks here, okay, what was their top 5 numbers, what were their bottom 5 numbers, and also, which would be the same as the first high and the first low, also just what was their highest or their lowest number, period. All right, so it's kind of a redundancy here, but I want to have them both in there for comparison. So now I want to show you how we set up the table on the right hand side the way we did there. So we're going to go back to the original sheet here, the undone one, and we're going to fill it in with all the calculations needed to ultimately generate what you see here. The first section at the top, that's going to be pretty easy because we've done these functions already in previous videos. What we're going to do here is we're going to use the max function, and we're going to use the min function here. So on the first one here, we can just do this directly on the keyboard here. So we'll type in equal MA, and you'll see max, and we can just do a double click on that. And now we want to find the biggest number in Chip's range. So we go over here to B3, and because I don't really feel like having to drag and drag and drag the many cells down, we can use a keyboard technique once we've established our starting point here by clicking it, by doing a shift, control, and then the down arrow key, and that'll take us down. I guess not that far, but it took us down a little bit. And then once you've done that, that's all we need to have in there. Enter that in, and if you scroll back up there, then you'll see it. So that is the highest number in Chip's range. Now, if we go down to the next one, which is going to be the lowest number, that's going to be equal MI for min. Okay, that'll be this one here. Double click that one. Same range. We click at the beginning, control shift down arrow key, enter, take care of that one, and then we can take both of those and then copy them across, just like that. Pretty easy, all right? So now we're going to use the function called large and another one called row. You'll see that in a little bit, but primarily large. That's going to be able to determine the first biggest or the biggest number, which is going to give you the same as what we have here, but it will give you the second largest, the third largest, the fourth, and the fifth. And then we're going to use the small function to do the first smallest, the second, third, fourth, and fifth. All right. Now we're going to design the function formula in such a way that we can type it in just one time here and be able to copy it across and copy it down and be done with it. And then do the same thing with this one. Type it in one time, copy it across, and copy it down. We're going to do this with a combination of using partial absolute settings, as well as using the row function. And you'll see that as we go along here. So we'll start out, and I'll explain all the little intricacies as we're going along here. But we're going to start out, first of all, with equal LA, and you'll see large. So we'll go ahead and just do a double click on that. All right. Now, the first thing it needs to know is the range in question. Well, again, this is going to be Chip's column B. All right. Now, the way we're going to do this is we're going to click onto the first cell like we did before, Control Shift, and then down arrow key. All right. Now, just so that we get a sense of what's going on here, I'm going to go back to the top of the list here. So I'm just going to use the elevator to go over the top. You can just use your wheel if you're kind of following along here. So here's the deal. We just got done selecting B3 through B55. We need to make it so where when we copy the formula to the right, that the B will change to C for Kathy, for D for Susan, E for Beavis, and so forth. But at the same time, when we're copying the formula down, we don't want the range of B3, B55 to kind of change to B4, B56. We'll start slipping off of our range here, okay? I mean, we did other videos before this, and you've seen what we're talking about here. So the idea is that we have to do, but in this case though, a partial absolute, where we're just locking in just the row reference, not the column, right? Now, the way we do this, same as before, we would first of all hit the F4 key. Now, when we hit the F4 key, everything becomes absolute. But if we hit the F4 key again, then that locks in the row. You see the $3 and the $55. That means that that will not change as we're copying it down, but the column will change from B to C as we're copying it across. That's perfect. All right. So then we'll do a comma. All right. Now this next part is actually pretty simple if we weren't caring about doing a lot of copying, all right? The next thing it needs to know is what position do you need to see? Well, if it's the largest number, then I need to put in the number 1. If it's the second largest number, I need to put the number 2 in there. Very simple. If it's the 10th largest, I need to put in the number 10. Now the problem is, if I just put in a regular, just number 1 in there, as a lot of you know, when I go to copy that 1 will not know to change to 2 when I copy to the next row. Doesn't know that, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to employ a function called row. That's R-O-W. And we're specifically going to say row, and then within the parentheses of row, we're going to put the address of H1. Now, what happens is when you, all by itself, were to put in the row function, you said something like equal row, and within the parentheses, you said, let's say, H1, okay? If you said H1, D1, B1, A1, wouldn't matter. It would return back what row A1 or B1 or C1 was on. Well, guess what row that would be? That would be the number 1. And that's exactly what we need to have in here. But at the same time, while we got that in there, imagine having it say row H1, right? Let's just say we're using that cell. You copy it down to the next row here. That reference to H1 will change to H2. Okay, what row is H2 on? Golly gee, the number 2. Copy it further. H3, 3. H4, 4. All right? That's not bad. Now, if for some reason this just goes right over your head, you're sitting there saying, Chip, I have no clue what you're talking about. Then what you're going to have to do in this situation is put in the number 1 there, do the formula again, put the number 2 in place of the 1 for the next one, put the number 3 in place of the 1 for the next one, and so forth. And then once you got that whole column done, then you can just copy it across. That would work. I'm just showing you, just taking a few extra seconds, you can save yourself a lot of time in copying and having it edit. So what we're going to do here, we're going to type in RO. There's your row, not rows, but just plain old row. Okay, row. And we're just going to click on to, well, just click on H1 just like that. close it up, and then also then close up your parenthesis, because we have to kind of balance it off there. So we've got the left and right for the H1, and then we've got the left and the right, for the rest of the formula. Okay, so far so good. Now we go ahead and hit the enter key, and we get that. Now, if I go to copy it down, perfect. Now look at this. When you look at this one here, this says H2, H3, H4, H5, right? That means 5, that means 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect, just what we wanted. And then while that's selected, we can also copy it across, see? Just like that. And as you can see here, this one changes to I1 or J1 or K1. Doesn't matter. It's still row K1 means 1. K2 means 2. See? So same thing. Doesn't matter what's in the cell. It's what row is it. That's what we're using this for. What a great little tool there. Saves a lot of time. Otherwise, I would have had to do da-dun, 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 change all those, and then I could copy them all across, right? So now we're going to do the same thing for the low numbers or the small numbers, right? So we're going to do an equal SM for small, right? Now, once again, what does it need to know? It needs to know Chip's range of numbers. So I click on the first one, Control, Shift, down arrow key. Now I'm going to go back up just to get our references here, okay? So there it is. Now I need to make this where the B will not, the B will change to a C, to a D, to an E, but where the 3 and the 55 will not change, as it's getting copied down, right? So that's going to be what? F4, F4, right? That's it. Then a comma. And again, we can just click on to H1. Oh, I'm sorry, we got to put row in so far. Sorry. So we're going to type in RO, right? There's our row, right? And then within that, we're going to put H1 again. Pick anything. I don't know which. As long as it's row 1 that you're selecting, that's all that matters. And we'll close that off. And then close off the whole thing. Enter that in. Take that one. Copy it down. Take this one. Copy it across. You're done. And you know that you're off to a good start because these guys are exactly what these guys are, right? And that's all. You look at Kathy and you look at her high and low. Those are the same, see? So we know we did okay. I mean, you could go in there and look around and make sure, but trust me, it's dead on. So I hope you can use what I've just shown you. I think, you might not do as many of these. You might say, I just want to know what the first and second highest numbers were, right? Or the first and second lowest numbers. That's fine. Just do those two. But great little tool, I think. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Take care.